going on, everyone? It's Winslow, and welcome back to the Swing and Miss podcast, episode number 5, the first of 2021, and it's already April, so clearly I've been productive. Yeah, I mean, I could have so many excuses or reasons, whatever you want to call them, as to why, but yeah, we're back. I'm back. See if we can keep this going a bit more. So, yeah, if you're new here, welcome. If you've been around for the myriad of episodes, all 4 of them before this, you kind of know how this goes. A bit more conversational. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's a guest. You just kind of pick a topic and kind of riff on it for a while. Just, talk about whatever comes to mind. And yeah, today's this episode is going to be, I made up like this tagline, basically the idea that comparison is a thief of joy, or in our case, comparison is a thief of good snares. That's pretty catchy, I think. Yeah, and it's kind of come to my mind, and I guess like the past month, it started kind of like, I guess me getting comments as in like, oh, you've been so productive and you have all these releases coming out. And like, just in the actuality of it is just timing worked out in a way that I have a release like every week for the last month. So basically March into April, or March and April at this point. And it seems like it's all, and like, it gives you an idea that you like, not just me, but anybody else is like, has been super productive. They've been smashing it. And then you immediately start comparing it to yourself. Like, oh, they have this, but I haven't done much of anything. And then, you start getting down or feeling bad about yourself when you really don't need to, because all you're really seeing is, someone's highlights instead of like the day-to-day just human grind that anyone goes through. Like all these releases for me this past weeks or 2 months, and all this has gone by, are tracks I wrote last year. It like spread out through the year, from the beginning of the year towards the end of the year, with a whole lot of pockets, what am I saying? With a bunch of pockets of just like months, weeks on end of nothing in between me being productive enough to, write a track or 2. But you don't see that, you don't really hear about it. And it happens for everyone. Like, oh, so-and-so just released an EP, and then, wow, they have an album coming out in a few weeks. How did they do that so fast? It's like, well, if you go back and you think about it, all this stuff had been years in the making, but right now it looks like, yeah, they were just, they're famous. They cranked it out in a weekend. Like, nah, that's really unrealistic, but that's like, it's still like in your mind, like, maybe did they do that? And if they did it, why can't I do it? And, but we all have different situations, like I've always been producing alongside a full-time or part-time job, or school, like university, which is basically a full-time job when you have like a ton of hours to get through. And that's kind of what I've been battling with. Other people have, there are your parents, you have kids to think about, you have jobs that literally take all day. I've worked those 12, 13-hour jobs where you just don't feel like doing anything afterwards. And then you see somebody who's just like living the life on Instagram or whatever that means, and you're like, why can't I get there? Or why am I not there? Like, another thing is just like, it sucks. It's just like seeing like I would say younger people, but then it's like, you always get like the 15-year-old with the Grammy or something. I don't know. It's like, when I was 15, I was just like hanging out at the skate park, picking my nose for the most part. It's like, I could have been doing something. And it's that idea of I could have been, or I could be doing something, or it's like, none of that really matters, because you're just working at your own pace. Like, you can't compare your reality to someone else's highlights when you don't know exactly what's going on. And yeah, it's just like, why? I mean, obviously, thinking back, it's like, why would you think that? But when you're in it and you're feeling that way, like at the moment, it's hard to get out of. I do that. I mean, I've had so much issues with just comparing myself. It's like, oh, I see somebody else my age. What are they doing? Oh, they're like, they own a house. They have their degrees or whatever. They have a full-time job. They look happy. You know, I want that. You know, but then you realize it's not all that it looks like. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just like it's not, you know? Without going, I guess, into like unnecessary detail, but it's just the point of you don't you just don't know someone else's journey, and you don't know. I mean, you can ask and they might tell you the exact same story, kind of like I'm telling you now. It's like, oh yeah, I have a job. I have all these other responsibilities. There's a pandemic going on, so I genuinely don't feel like doing things most of the time. But every now and then I still I like write a track, and after a few every now and thens of writing tracks, you have an EP, even though that's like over the course of the year. When the EP comes out and it's decent or whatever you want to call it, it just seems like you just see the product, but you don't really think of, at first at least, what led up to it. I think the more and more I'm getting to like this, I don't know what to call it, but just like I'm getting more eyes on myself. I'm trying to kind of keep that in mind because it helps me stay, you know, grounded. Because I mean, nothing's really changed other than more people are listening to my music. But they're like, but now I'm getting questions like, how did you get here? How did you link with, you know, Hospital or Solvent or Gulfat? How did you, like, I have a job, I have a life. I can't dedicate all this time that I feel like you're dedicating. It's like, well, I just send an offhand message, then go back to work every now and then, or maybe I'll check my phone, or when I do have like an hour or two of free time after whatever my, you know, responsibilities are, then I'll write music and I'll just try to focus on that. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes I end up on the on the couch watching TV for hours, and you know, both are worth it in their own right. Like there's no problem taking a joke. You can take some time off. Like this is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. Like it's a hobby that hopefully turns into a job or a career or something like that. But it starts off as just like a genuine love, in our case, of writing music, writing drum bass, DJing, all that. And when you love something enough, you know, you find time to fit it into your schedule, even though it's like, oh, I have 15 minutes a day. Let me just mix for a bit, you know, relax. Or I have an hour here in between, you know, task A and task B. Let me go make a drum break or something. You find time, and that helps kind of, I won't say not rationalize, but just ground yourself in the reality of, you know, this is your life. This is what we have to do. Let's just do our thing. Let me just do my thing. And, you know, I might see a post like, oh, someone's, you know, going to New Zealand, they're at parties and stuff. And part of me is like, why can't I go? And then the other part of me is like, you know, when things open back up, and they will, maybe I'll have written a track that makes it worth somebody wanting to invest a whole lot of money to fly me over to New Zealand. If anyone in New Zealand is watching or listening, help me out. I even have some friends. They might, you know, package discount. Me and me and two other people will come DJ for a discounted fee as long as our flights are paid for, because it's so expensive to really go anywhere outside of the country, for me at least. Yeah, it's a different conversation any other time. Yeah, I mean, just like social media in general, is just it's necessary, but then that's like the negative of, yeah, you see people's highlights, just comparing yourself steals your joy. Or what I'm running with steals your good snares. If you can't make a good snare with a bad attitude. And I don't mean bad like, yo, that's bad, that's real good, like Michael Jackson. I mean just like negative attitude. You're not gonna make a good snare out of that. You can try. You can try. You can be angry and have a positive attitude, you know, in a sense that I want to make a really nasty, gross, like metalcore, noisier, split the atom type snare. and it'll be good because, you know, you got a positive attitude, you know, you want to do it. Or you can just be like down in the dumps and it happens and like you make the flattest sounding snare and drum break. And it's like, I don't know if I want to write music anymore. The duality of man. I don't know. But it's something to think about. Like, it's not just, I mean, just like a few days ago, you get posts by, you know, the usual EDM bro. It's like, if you're a DJ, I'm just going to read it. So you've probably seen it. So it's like, if you're a DJ producer who spent the duration of this pandemic posting little to no content on socials, not streaming, not releasing music, you missed a huge opportunity. And like, not really. Like, this whole year has been nothing anyone can have. This whole year has been something none of us could have prepared for at all. And it's taken toll in a way that not many of us have been through or been able or would understand how to recover or, you know, get through. It's been a trial. And it's okay if you haven't made anything or you haven't made anything, I don't know, substantial as in like a single or an EP, or you haven't felt like posting things because you're just like trying to get through the day. So tweets like I get it. Yeah, there's an opportunity there, but more often than not, like people will understand the world gets it because we're all going through this. So it's kind of this silly and really misses the mark of being a human and going through things like this. And at least in my point of view, the whole human experience, I guess, here we go, we're getting deep, is what influences our like creative output the most. You know, so like just everything that's happened over this past year has influenced everything I've written. Like I started making melancholy, almost depressive tracks at the beginning of the like quarantine, pandemic, all that. In the middle, when there was some kind of like, oh, we might be all right, you know, tracks started getting a little brighter, a little happier. And then it's like, nope, go back a few weeks, you're stuck in the house, they get dark again. And now it's like, oh, we might have shows soon, the vaccine, all this good stuff. Just, you know, positive leaning news that helps you feel a bit better, a bit more optimistic. Now I'm like, oh, maybe I should write like a club track or something a bit more upbeat and energetic. And that all comes from just like the day-to-day experience. Like how many tracks are made that are called like Sunshine because someone was staring out the window at the sun? How many tracks have been made that are like winter or snowfall or, yeah, I did that one. Because you were just like, just kind of sitting there, again, like probably looking out the window on a chilly day with a blanket and just like, there's some snow out there. So then you start making the track inspired by whatever you're around, or like you're in a new relationship and you write a love song or something like that. Like this whole creative output is just so linked to your experience and to, again, like comparing your experience to what someone else's looks like. It just, I don't know. It is not helpful at all. And it really can bog you down, in my opinion. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, it's fact, but I'm not going to come here with sources and stuff. I just know when I see someone else having fun, I'm like, why am I not having fun? Then I feel like I'm having even less fun, even though I feel I'm enjoying myself. That whole roundabout way made any sense. Like, you don't have to do anything anyone else is doing. You can do things differently. But do your own thing. You know, be you. Be yourself. I don't know. Whatever that means. But that's kind of what I get to. So again, comparison is the thief of good snares. You just can't. But on the same topic of doing what you want to do, quick tea sip. Don't be afraid to take chances. You know? Like this whole podcast, me talking in for this for like an hour or however long they last. This is a chance because I don't know. People don't want to hear what I have to say. but then you get a comment like, yeah, I really resonated with that. So it's like it pushes you just to do a bit more or just to give it a try. And everything, this whole YouTube channel, all this music, like I'm an American that writes drum and bass, that drum and bass doesn't really have any kind of presence here to the general, population. So I'm like an outlier, but I'm taking a chance on, I guess at this point, a career and a hobby turned career and just a love and yeah, that's taking a chance. More specifically, like taking chances with music, going against whatever the popular, meta is or whatever. So, or just doing not what you think people expect you to do, because there's a difference in what someone expects and what you think someone expects sometime. And then there's like, again, with social media, it's like you see other people doing things, like you have the DJs or producers like, yo, check out my drop, the shaky video. So you think, oh, I got to do that. Or now you have like DJs doing blends and stuff, like just mixing tracks and like, oh, what do you think of this? And like, even if it's just for fun, like, again, everything you do is promo, right? So you feel like, oh, I got to do this. Or I have to look the part of a famous guy, or I got to look interesting. It's like, nah, no, you don't. No, you really don't, because that might work for them. That might fit their personality. But if I try to do that, try to look all bubbly, influencery, and making up words as I go, it would just look disingenuous at this point, and I myself would feel very awkward, more than I already do. Like if you like last week, you might have seen I did like the hospital takeover for the whole day, and it was exhausting just posting that much, trying to, it's not like it took me a whole lot to figure out what to post and things like that, but just being on and active the entire day on Instagram, just answering questions, this and that. It took like the whole Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for me to like regroup after that. And I was just doing what I normally do, my normal posts, showing my kind of daily life and how that intersects with music and production DJing and stuff like that. So it was very much authentic to me, but it was being on that entire time and active. It was just exhausting. I don't know where I was going with that, but the whole point of it's just like, I couldn't do that every day. And some people do. Just doing I made more posts in a day on hospital and then on the hospital's Instagram, and they're still there, by the way. So clearly they weren't terrible, but I made more posts in a day than I probably had the entire month of my own Instagram account, entire 2 months, maybe. Yeah. It's just, I can't keep up with that, but some people can. I like to post goofy things every now and then, not necessarily like memes, but just like something that at least gets like one of those out of you, which ties into like, again, taking chances, going ideas, promoting your own like tunes is a great time to take chances. There's like so many people just, post the artwork. I got a new tune. That's it. That's fine. But you can always do a bit more with it. Like I have an EP coming out this Friday. This episode should be published before it comes out. So my Mad Flavours EP on Solvent, go check it out if you're listening after the fact. And there's so many just goofy ideas that I just approached Solvent with. Some of them I didn't. Some of them I just did. And I'm like, yeah, I did this. I'm going to run with this. Yeah. So like we have 3 music videos. 2 of them I basically started off the idea. All of it was basically like green screen stuff. That's why you have like the Mad Flavours one, which is just like my head rapping against like the design of the artwork. And then at some point, then there's like the one for Lost in the Black Lodge, that track, which is just a reference to Twin Peaks, because that was part of my quarantine of just watching that all 3 seasons for like a month and a half straight. And that's just been on my mind because it's such a good show. So then I made like my own kind of parody, just short like promo videos. And if I edit the whole thing, there might be a music video of me just like standing in front of a green screen in a suit looking like Agent Cooper and drinking tea instead of coffee. But it's enough to get you like, yo, what's this guy doing? Like, I don't really get it, or I get that it's Twin Peaks, but why does it relate to the song? And so that drives people in to listen to the song. And if they're disappointed, they're disappointed. But if they like it, aha, you just reel them in there, you know? So it's ideas like that. I've done it with like the last year on Gold Fat Swing and Miss EP when I made like that fake commercial or fake movie trailer, which is where like the Bob Ross fro first came out. That's another thing, the Bob Ross video, which was just me being goofy, making fun of myself and other producers and like silly tropes and stuff, like using a think break or just taking a sample off Splice and doing absolutely nothing with it and just dropping it in tune and being like, yeah, I made this. This is sick, isn't it? It's like, man, that's a Splice demo right there. But we keep it on the hush hush because we're not supposed to say that, you know? Yeah, but something like that just, that did a ton for like me as far as getting people to listen and like pay attention. But it wasn't in like a kind of a clickbaity kind of way, like, yo, look at me. Like there was generally like still my kind of video process of trying to teach something, even though it was just a lot of, heavy handed kind of dry jokes in there and jabs. It was still taught you basically how I make a track. And so finding like a balance, which I could have done better specifically to that video because I just winged it for like 15 minutes. But I can wing it 15 minutes because I've practiced. I mean, I know how to produce, but I've practiced these videos and getting kind of the formats down and making sure I can appeal to both someone who doesn't really get it and someone that does, the producer, and just like, oh, so that's what these producers are doing sometimes, But all these ideas are just ideas. They're just me taking chances, putting myself out there, which is tough. It's one thing to like put your idea out there, but it's another to put your face along with that idea. Because not only in a positive way, it gives somebody something to latch on to, like, yo, this is a person that's just having an idea and they're just, having fun. But then you also occasionally get the trolls like, yeah, here's this person. Let's pick at him because we feel a way about ourselves, projecting and all that kind of stuff. And luckily, that doesn't happen too much for me yet. But I know it will at some point. It's an unfortunate part of the human experience, tying that back in. See, these segues are doing great, right? But anyway, just take a chance on trying something different. And you know what? People like come to me like, I tried what you did, but I don't want to seem like I'm copying you. It's like, well, first off, let me just let you know that I'm not coming up with all these ideas as like original things. Like I just copy someone else and try to format it in a way that works for me. Like these kind of videos, this podcast is a copy of what started off as kind of a copy, like the format, the me just kind of hanging out in a studio kind of area talking. I appropriated, I don't know what you want to call it, but I got influence from a photographer I like watching on YouTube, Matt Day. And like he just sits down, chats, answers some questions, talks about a topic for a bit. It could be 15 minutes. It could be an hour and a half. And I'm just like, I relate to that in a way. And I feel like other people will relate to you when you put yourself out there. But you do have to get over that crutch of being a bit vulnerable in a sense and putting yourself out there. Like there's a few people, like I can name friends of mine, like Josh Siren. He was very apprehensive about making like tutorial videos and stuff. And I told him just make one. He made one, just let his label Ram know that he was doing it. And they turned it into a whole series. And now he's just like loving it. It's one video a month, but people immediately come back, flock to him and James, his brother, their duo. And Like now it's a thing he does and looks forward to every month. And it's once a month. It's not like 3 videos a week because he's not a YouTuber. He just does it for fun to give people a bit more insight into production himself. It makes him more human. Like he might not show his face or anything, like you see that everywhere else, but like just hearing a voice and relating something that you're doing, music production, in a way that you understand, you resonate with, it does wonders for you. Another guy, shout out Ben Rolo. He just hits me up for these things every now and then. Like he just hit me up yesterday about, starting a Patreon. What do you think about that? What's your views on running it? What do you think I should do? That kind of thing. And I helped him out with a bit of those. But I remember like months ago, he was a bit apprehensive about making a track breakdown. I think was Pieces remix of Inmost. He won that competition. And he's like, I'm going to make a track breakdown, but I'm not used to being in front of a mic. I'm not used to being in front of a camera. And I did like 20 takes and I was just like, I was nervous. I'm like, yep, that's how you start. But in the end, you get used to it. Like 2 years ago, I couldn't do this. I couldn't just talk and kind of explain my ideas in a somewhat coherent way and be comfortable or appear comfortable. But now I can just kind of riff and kind of just talk all day. I don't know. I'm just like being in front of camera doesn't bother me all that much anymore. And being in front of a mic, and that comes from doing these videos and Twitch streams and just like taking a chance. Again, just throwing myself into the water and learning how to swim immediately before I get eaten by sharks. And I've failed a few times. I've made videos that either weren't technically good or the message or the content in them wasn't correct or in a way that I wanted to portray it. But the energy and the ideas and the me just wanting to do it and get better as I do it has always been there. And that's always just been about taking a chance. So I'm just not going to say that phrase anymore, except now. So just to take a chance, try something. You never know how it's going to be received, but you can control your end. You can make it technically as good as you want. You can make the message as good as you want. You just do it to the best of your ability, and that ability will grow as you grow. I'm gonna do it one more time, but just take a chance. You never know what'll work for you. I started making these videos just for fun, the awkward ones in the beginning where I'm just like, hey guys, so I'm gonna make a drum break, and now I can at least talk with some energy, so you're like looped into it, and the message is a bit more put together. And I guess have a bit more personality. It's more me instead of like a guarded version, Like you still, obviously you don't know like me 100%, but you definitely should have if you've watched or listened or anything, you have a pretty good idea. Like if we met in person, it wouldn't be all that different. I might be taller or shorter than you think, but that's normal. I do wear hats all the time. That's another consistent thing, It's weird. I can like make promo out of just taking like a picture or a video or something without a hat on, and people are like, where is your hat? Why are you not wearing a hat? And that's the weirdest thing for me because I don't never realize anyone would pay attention to it. But that's it. You never realize what people are paying attention to or what people will get out of things. So I lied one more time. I promise I don't do this all the time. Just take a chance. Take a chance. And that's kind of the gist. These two topics, comparison is a thief of good snares. And don't be afraid to take a chance. Damn it, I said it again. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about. And that's not the end of the episode, though. We have one question. As usual, I kind of make a post ahead of time on Instagram because that's just like my preferred platform of choice, I guess, and Patreon. Just kind of gauge your questions, just to make this more interactive. Like most of these topics I just come up with by myself. Or this is something I'm thinking of. And instead of making like a hyper edited, 8-minute video, just riff on it for an hour, and you can pick and choose, skip through what you listen to. I listen to podcasts while like cleaning my room or making dishes, washing dishes, anything. It's a passive kind of thing. But anyway, a question from my friend John, aka Good Shepherd. He was asking about my vocal process and basically like where does it fall in writing a tune? Like, do I write the instrumental first and then I think about vocals, or do I write vocals, lyrics first? Because it'd be weird to record and then not have a track. But like lyrics first and then the instrumental. And I'm still early in this doing vocals game, so it's definitely the production side first because that's what I have a handle on. Like there's been a few times where I've written lyrics and then like I could write an instrumental towards this and then I just didn't. So I have kind of like a digital notepad because my handwriting's terrible. I wouldn't be able to read it afterwards. But yeah, it's growing up in the 2000s, right? No pencil. Anyway, so yeah, like Amore, Mad Flavors, Snap Out of It, Dissonance. Are there any other vocal tracks? Yeah, there are a few, but they haven't seen the light of day. Don't worry about those. Um, yeah, those all started as instrumentals, and then the classic. Oh, this could be cool with the vocal, but then it's like you don't want to use Splice because those are all been ripped through. I don't know anyone, or either I'm just too awkward and uncomfortable to be like, yeah, would you want to sing on my track? And then it's like, how do I pay you? I don't know. And stuff like that, which is like why I started doing it myself in the first place. I'm like, I have experience singing. I can coach myself through this. I can handle it technically. I just think like I'd have to learn my own way of performing because writing lyrics is just like another branch of creative writing, which I've been good at since I was a little kid and like in school and stuff. So I could come up with a quick story or a quick rhyme or something pretty quick. I keep saying quick. Yeah, but it's like the performance side and making it authentic to myself, which is a whole process because I don't do it enough to where I can just be myself when I'm singing or rapping or whatever, because I haven't figured out what that is yet. That's why a lot of the tracks sound a bit different because, again, I lied. I didn't know I would get here, but I was just taking chances on the vocal side of things. So I hope that answers your question. It's usually the instrumental first and then the lyrics. Good question. We'll see how vocal things, work out because I haven't heard anything negative about him yet. Y'all seem to like him, so I'm going to keep it up, get better. Voice is just another instrument. I'm not going to be like Winslow, the singer, but it'll be like Winslow occasionally sings or raps or something on his tracks. Why not? Another tool to the tool belt. Yeah. But let's wrap it up. That's about it. What do I have to plug? Nothing, really. Oh yeah. So April 9th, that's this Friday, or a few weeks ago, if you're listening to this after this Friday, Mad Flavours EP on Solvent. A few weeks before that was my remix for New Tone, which was Tides. My remix of Tides for New Tone was on Hospital 25 Years compilation. Week before that, again, there were so many. There was a Amore also on Hospital, Future Symptoms 1. Finals over there if you haven't checked it out. Hospital back there. That's a sneak peek. I just bought it and I bought the wrong size, so it just hangs up back there till I return it or get a new one or gift it to a friend. So if you get to this point, you hear this and you want it, it's a size large, but it's like a British large, so it's kind of small for an American. Put on weight during this quarantine. Don't at me anyway. Yeah, it's back there. Just let me know. Then there was Losing Direction with Mr. Porter on Full Fat 01 compilation. And in a few weeks, there'll be a remix for BC and Charlotte Haining. that's coming out. And then after that, who knows? Because again, I was productive for a few months last year, and that's where all these tracks come from. And since then, I haven't done a whole lot. So who knows when my next release will be after April. But there will be one. And I'm going to take my time because I don't want to not have a good snare. So I'm not going to compare myself. And I'm going to take a chance. Anyway, it's been fun. If you like this, follow on wherever you're listening to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, if you want to watch the video version of me just like sitting back and forth in this chair and looking off into space. Maybe you can play like a Where's Waldo and see what changes every episode. If you want another layer of support, check out my Bandcamp. Everything's at Winslow XYZ. Patreon.com/Winslow XYZ. I do prefer saying Z instead of Z now. It's interesting. If you want just a bit more insight, like I post like sketches of tracks, just so you can see like where it started, how it came from. Like I just posted my like original verse for Losing Direction, which ended up having Mr. Porter on it, who did a much better job than I could have. But yeah, that's a thing. Early version, Mumbles of Grace, when it was just like a little sketch where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. And stuff like that, bootlegs, the occasional thing. But it's just another layer of support. You're not missing anything, really, if you don't subscribe. But if you do, you get a bit extra. If you like seeing my face or reading or hearing my words a bit every now and then, But yeah, just checking my notes, see if that's everything. Yeah, that's it. This has been the Swing and Miss Podcast, episode number 5, with your host with the not quite most, Winslow, and see you in the next one. Hopefully, we might have a guest, we might not, who knows. These things are fun. If you want to be a guest, hit me up. Anyone, literally anyone. We just have a conversation about something. That's all this is about. Yeah. See you next time. Peace. Damn good cup of tea. You get that reference.